Morning, sir.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Professor. I want others to respond.
I'm really happy to be here this morning
You
with
want to
you,
project
Prof.
the?
Yes,
Should I share the screen?
yes. Excuse me, brother, not now.
Okay.
Ask you, please, now I should speak. But now,
Okay.
do I
Okay.
start right away? Because
Yes.
you
Yes.
know me, I'll start right away. Uh, for Linto, Brother Ronald, my good friend Dr. Albert, and fellow participants, fellow teacher educators. I'm happy to be here this morning with you. Share my ideas about reading skill. I think that you would have gone through the passages that I sent you yesterday. And I'll be happy if one or two of you could share your reactions with the audience. Can I ask, Sabira to share her opinions? Yes?
Yes, hello everyone. Good morning to all.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Actually, the passage you shared yesterday, it was a great. Yes, we go and we read the passage. It was a good one. It can help us think. The question was also very good related to the passage.
Thank you. It's not very clear. But anyway, I'm happy that you could read the first passage. Now, can I ask somebody else to share the Rizu Kawa? Am I right? Rizu Kawa.
Actually, your voice is breaking. It was not clear for me. What did you say?
Yeah. Now it's clear. Now, when he spoke, I could not hear what he said. So could you please repeat what he said, Sabira?
Am I audible?
Now, yes.
Yes, I said the passage which you shared with us, we gone through it was a very good one, and it was perfect questions, and the passage it is related to the questions were related to the passage. It is a very good one. It can help us in reading, teaching, reading to the students. It is a very good one.
Very good. Now, what about the level? To which level will it suit? Level?
Yes, sir.
That is, you have 4 or 5 levels, I understand. To which level will be
Yes.
suitable?
About the level, it is about the third one, I think.
No, you will have different sets of people. Will this passage be suitable for your learners?
Yes, it is suitable for them.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Arizu, am I right in my pronunciation? Arizu? Arizu is in the line?
Yes. Yes, sir, I am.
Oh, I see. Yeah, please, give me your reaction. What do you feel about the passages?
The passages which were in the group, Oh. The level of the difficulty is okay because I am teaching A1 level, and my students, the passage which they have got in the book, that is more difficult than that. And this one is easier.
Very good. I take upon this point. Thank you very much. Will anybody else share?
You're welcome, sir.
Will anybody else share? Fine. Now, with this reaction from the two of you, I will proceed with my talk. Really, it's a very good opportunity for me to interact with you all from a different world as it is. Well, now, I will first talk about reading skill in general, what it is, and why we read, what are the purposes, and then I will go on to the process of reading, then the methods that we have to employ while reading and also while teaching. This is a broad outline. Let's first go to the first part. What is reading? What happens when you read? No, actually, written material or even printed material or even something displayed on the board, either with symbols or with words, is a material for you to read. And they are in a particular code or a system of symbols. And you have to decode it. That's all. The mind decodes it. How does it do it? It's a very complicated process. If you are a left-handed person, the right hemisphere of the brain does something, the neurons do this, that. Let us not go into that. And because of that, we are able to comprehend what it means, what the coded message means. Well, for this, we need a lot of things. First of all, we must know the code. We must also have some background knowledge and information to build on the new information. So it means that we have to learn the coding and decoding process, and we have to teach them to the students, not in these difficult terms, but very simple, in a simple manner, depending upon the level of our students. Well, now, why do you read? Can anybody answer this question? Why do you read? Whether it is in your mother tongue or in English, why do you read? What's the purpose? Or what are the purposes? Anybody? You raise your hand and the host will allow you in. All of us read. Why do you read? Yes, somebody call. Mr. Thompson.
Okay, so mainly when we are reading something, so we are trying to understand the meaning of something, or we are trying to find some specific answer of a question like that.
So to get information, very good. So normally we read to get information. It's a general umbrella term. To get information for what purpose? Any purpose. Either, for instance, you get a letter and you read it and then you understand what it is and then you react to it. So the message is there and we want to know what that message is. Or we collect information. Where do you collect information? Just when you read newspaper, sorry, is my connection unstable? Internet connection unstable? Brother, are you able to hear me?
Your voice broke actually. Now it's okay. You can continue.
So, whatever we get, sometimes without any purpose, we read. Simply to collect information, we store it somewhere and then we use it on some other occasion or we don't use it. That's one. Now, why do students read? They read it for academic purposes. That is, they want to learn their subject through this language. That is all. I do not know what the medium of instruction is in your place, but whatever it is, if it is the mother tongue, then they need the mother tongue, the L1 language, language 1, to have some information regarding their subjects. In other words, we have it for academic purposes. And the third category is read for pleasure. You read a short story, novel, or sometimes even newspapers, to have some joy, the experience, sometimes sorrow also, to have some kind of pleasure, entertainment, or just to pass away the time. That's the third category. Well, now based on this, any other point? Do you agree with me? Yes, we read for these three purposes: to get information, to collect information, for academic purposes, that is to learn our subjects, whatever be the subjects. Even for mathematics, we need we need the skill of reading, and also for entertainment and for pleasure. Sometimes it does in the mother, it is happening in mother tongue, and people like us do it for other purposes. So reading has these three purposes, and indirectly, because of reading, culture is transmitted. The culture of Afghanistan is understood by us just by reading some works by Afghanistan writers. So, similarly, the past we read and understand what it is. Well, now, having this in mind, let us have the second one, because we are educators with the main purpose of making our learners to enable them to read their subjects. That's one of the main purposes. But secondary is, of course, joy, pleasure. Now, if these are the purposes, how do you do that? In other words, how does the person read? If it is for academic purposes, he needs some careful reading. Sometimes when we read a newspaper or something else, we need a neutral speed. And then if it is for pleasure, we can read faster. So there are three ways in which our rates of reading we have while reading. Let us not go into that now. Let us see how we read. All of us read silently, don't we? Does anyone read aloud? Possibly in the classroom. Do you read aloud in the classroom? If you do, then you serve only one purpose. That is to help the learners listen to what he say. That is all. Nothing else. You don't teach anything else. So only a listening skill is taught there. So your reading aloud does not help. Similarly, their reading aloud also does not help. Now let us go to the process of reading. When you read, say if you are, no, I don't say letters, nowadays we don't read it. We read the next word, and then we put them together and try to understand the meaning, which is very difficult. So, reading word by word is ruled out for an advanced learner. Then, reading in chunks, in sense groups, that's the next step. Probably most of your students will be in the third stage, reading in a sense group. That is 4 or 5 words together in a chunk. As Chomsky would say, we learn this in chunks, not in words, not in even groups of words, but a larger group of words. And some efficient reader will be able to read how? Even a paragraph at a glance. That is an experienced reader. We'll come to that later. So this is the process of reading. And when this process goes on, you start from word. When you start from words, you will find the children mouthing their words. They will say, dear teachers, please make the session. If you do that, you can't understand the sense, the meaning. So, if you read like this, dear teacher, one check, then please make the session, one check, another session, interactive by asking questions, another. We read like that, the meaning is clear. So, we must train our students to read like this. And when they do it, they don't read word by word. They don't mouth the words also. In other words, when you see an efficient reader, you will find that there is no lip movement. I do not know whether you observed your students. Some of them may make lip movement. What does it mean? They read word by word, which means they don't understand anything. So why do we read? Reading means understanding. Reading means understanding something, decoding something, decoding a message. That is all. So this particular point you must remember. Brother, could you give the first slide? Screen, my screen.
Able to see the screen? So?
Yeah. Yes. The next slide. Yes. So reading means obtaining meaning by looking at words or symbols. So why do we read? To get information. It's the first one. Information is something that is different. So next slide, please. The next slide.
Yeah, not able to see.
Participants are able to see. They should be able to.
Yep.
Yes. Are you able to see, participants? Right. Now, when you read, yes? Can you see? So when we
Yes, sir.
read, we read silently. Very important, silent. And when you read silently, there will be no lip movement. And we read 4 or 5 words at a glance. In other words, now we don't read through the ears. We don't read through the mouth. We read through the eyes. When we glance through, what you see directly goes into the brain. There is no intermediary. That's why we are able to see it at a glance 4 or 5 words together, and then all of them go inside. And that's why I said we get the meaning of a sense group. Or I told you about sense group. And dear friends, dear professors, dear teachers, one sense group. Please ask questions and answer like that. That's sense group. This is very important. Well, now let us go into the process of selecting the material for our students. I can remove it. You can remove the screen. We'll come back to it later. So let's see what happens when you have to teach reading. The first one is the choice of the material that you have to teach. It's very important. As one of the participants remarked, not Sabir, but somebody else, she said that the lesson prescribed by the text is difficult for the learner. So what do? You start explaining, and there is no reading skill taught. So the passage that you choose for reading must be appropriate to the level of the learner. How do you do that? You know, instinctively, you know, as a teacher of some experience, you will know this passage is difficult for our students. So choose that particular passage, which is to the level. For instance, they would say, if the reading level is X, don't have X minus 1, X minus 2. Don't even have X. Try with the X plus 2, that level. And if that is high, come down to X plus 1. There must be a little bit of challenge. Otherwise, the reader would not read anything. A reader must have a challenge to find out what it is inside. So you choose that kind of passage. Next is writing the questions. I asked you to go through the questions. These are comprehension questions. By the way, participants, are you able to follow me? Are you able to follow me?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, the passage that you choose must have some comprehension questions. Whether it is IELTS or TOEFL or whatever be the level of testing, you will find that most of the questions are in the multiple choice type, objective type. So, our questions will have both say true or false, yes or no, even fill in the blanks, but multiple choice items will occupy the maximum part of your questions. Now, there are 3 types of questions to test comprehension. You would have observed, my dear friends, in the passages that I sent you, some questions will be having a literal source. In other words, literal comprehension. The factual questions, how many people are there? Where does this take place? And so on. So that is what is called literal comprehension. It is what the passage says, you simply understand and you show your comprehension. But there is another. The answer will not be there directly. You have to interpret from the text. You have to infer that the answer will not be directly found in the passage. You must infer. That is called inferential comprehension. Right? Inferential comprehension. The third one is critical comprehension. I think in one of the passages that I gave you, there was a question, what is the theme of the passage? What's the main idea of the passage? It goes beyond that. Or suppose it is what kind of a passage it is? What's the tone of the passage? Is it humorous, satirical, or is it melancholic? What's the tone? What's the tone? Is the writer laughing at you, laughing at everybody? So that is another kind of level in critical reading. So the critical reading comes a little bit beyond the general A1 level or A2 level. So these 3 types of comprehension are important. But now, questions should be on all these 3. Sometimes the third critical comprehension questions should be avoided. But the first 2 must be there. I'll give you an example because I do not know whether all of you have read the passages. There are a number of things will be there, a number of passages will be there which test inferential comprehension. I'll give a story. It's not, of course, it is listening. This is a simple story. You would have done that. You know, there was a hunter, and he was going along the banks of a lake. You know what a lake is? Lake. Are there lakes in Afghanistan? Lakes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Yeah. On the banks of a lake, there was a big tree. What tree do you have? Banyan tree or what kind of tree? Anyway, some trees there, and there were 10 pigeons sitting on it. There were 2 more pigeons sitting, two more trees on which 10 pigeons were sitting on each of them. So there were 3 trees, and on each of them were sitting 10 pigeons. The hunter was coming along, took out his gun, aimed at the pigeons and shot. 2 of the pigeons fell down, and what happened next? I'll put the questions this way. How many pigeons you can open? You can unmute. How many pigeons were there totally? How many pigeons were there on the trees? You didn't listen? How many trees were there? Yes, right? Three trees, and there were 10 pigeons on each of them. What's the total number? 30. Right. And if you miss that word each, then the problem is becoming more difficult. Right. Now, how many pigeons fell down? 2. How many pigeons are left on the tree?
28.
Nothing, everything is fine.
Fine. Okay. That young man, I don't know his name. So let me know pigeon left. Now, how do you do this? Inference, and also your background information about the pigeons flying away on hearing the noise, the shot of the gun. Right? So here we have inferential comprehension. Then the second one for young children will be inferential comprehension. How many trees? Right, 3. What's the total number? Then again they will be thinking. It's not given, the answer is not given. They have to infer. So this kind of inferential comprehension is very important because it applies to the cognition. It is not mere sight vocabulary or knowledge or mere memory and so on. Reading is a cognitive activity. The mind is involved. So, my friends, when you set questions, you must have a number of such inferential questions. That's why I asked you to analyze the questions that I given you. Right. And 1 or 2 questions right. Have the questions ready, the other passages ready. Now what do you do? Now, brother, can you switch on the screen?
Yeah.
Sorry, brother, I am causing you
No, no,
a lot of inconvenience.
It's okay. It's a pleasure.
So next, please. 4th one I'll come back to later. 5th one. So literal comprehension, inferential comprehension, and critical comprehension. So it's clear. Next one, please. Next slide. Now, when you have to teach reading, you must have 3 activities. 1, pre-reading activities. Then comes reading by the learner. Then come the post-reading activities. Why do you have pre-reading activities? No, the teacher's role in this reading process is only to prepare the learners to read. I repeat, the teacher does not read, the teacher does not explain anything, the teacher prepares the learner to read. And how does he do this? How does she do this? Through a number of activities. You know, what will be the difficult area in a particular passage, if it is in English, it's a second language or third language, the words will be difficult, vocabulary will be difficult. Secondly, sometimes the content will be difficult. The cultural element will be difficult. Suppose I had chosen a passage from, say, Indian or Tamil context, then that will be difficult for you. That's why I chose passages which are not, which do not belong to any particular area or region or even country. But you can have your own passages, and the passage must be understood if there is some problem with respect to the content. So these two things, and as for language, the sentence construction, we can't do much about it. And I think in course of time, the learner will understand, even if it is a complicated sentence, to sense the meaning. Now, the pre-reading activities thus must focus on vocabulary. How do you do that? Sometimes it can be through some kind of a role play. For instance, I chose a passage. It is about the Knights of the Round Table. I suppose you know that? Right? Knights of the Round Table. King Arthur. Not King Arthur, Arthur's Round Table. What happened was, one day, a poor person came and said that there is a sword seen on a rock, a stone, embedded on a stone. And so the king and his knights went there to see what it was, and they found that something was written on the rock, on the stone. It's written like this: only the bravest soldier can draw it out. The bravest knight, sorry, not soldier. Bravest knight can do that. Of course, one of the knights was the bravest. So, Bedivere, bold Sir Bedivere. He was asked to draw the sword. He could not do it. So all of them came back, and then a knight with a scabbard without a sword came. It's called Galahad. And he went there and he pulled the sword and kept it with him. Now, here, students might not know the word sword. They might use the word saber, or they might not know how kings are addressed, were addressed in those days. Now, it will be very good to introduce this through a role play. Here Elizabeth will be sitting, and then the people from other places coming and paying respects to her, and so on. They will be asking, Your Majesty, and some will be calling Your Lordship, My Lord, Your Grace, like that. So all these terms of addresses being introduced through a kind of a role play. So through role plays, or through some kind of a reading material, or some singing, some drawing by students. For instance, I would ask the students to draw the weapons used in the Middle Ages, and they would draw swords, spears, lances, and so on, and then bow and arrow, and all these things will be listed on the blackboard. And then the proper words will be identified. The armor, one particular word is important, the armor. So all these things will be introduced through some kind of activities, right? Now, after this previous pre-reading activities for either the concept or for the vocabulary words, we go to the reading task. Now, the students are encouraged to read silently. And they read silently, and the teacher does not keep quiet. She goes around, watches the students. In a particular class of 10 or 15 or 20, some students will be able to read easily, some with some difficulty, some not at all. So the teacher goes around and finds out the students with difficulties and helps them to do it. And then they answer after reading. You give the specify the time, and they read and answer the questions. The answers are discussed by the students in pairs. So there's a lot of intricacies in that. If they discuss in pairs, they understand it better. There will be no need for copying the answers. It's not, I do not know how copying is there in your place. There's no need for copying because they will discuss the answers with the neighbor. So after this discussion, once again, the whole class discusses the answer. And the post-reading activities, that is one simple activity, answering questions and discussion. Next will be dramatization, or retelling the story, or if it is the long passage, say the third level, level 3, then the students should be able to take down notes, either in the form of the format that is usually given by the teachers, or they can have a flow chart or diagrams. In any way, they can represent the story in some way or the other, not exactly the story, the material. Now, can we go to the next slide?
Yeah.
So reading activities will be to prepare the learner to read. Please be there. Activities will be games, role play, reading, extra reading, reading at home. For instance, I gave a passage for you to read, passages for you to read at home. So something like that can be given. Sometimes they write, before they start reading, they write something about their experiences in some place. Or they do some reference work, drawing, and then the teacher introducing vocabulary. These are the pre-reading activities. The next one, next slide please. While reading, what do? Correct students' lip movement, sometimes finger pointing, hand movement like this. Encourage students to guess the meaning of words. If you cultivate the habit of referring to a dictionary every now and then for a difficult word, then reading will become impossible, actually. Every time you find a difficult word, you go to the dictionary, the very sense is lost. So what you do is, you allow the students to read and guess the meaning of a word. For instance, in the story that I was narrating, there was a word called scabbard. They might not know the word, but they can easily guess the meaning as some case in which the sword is kept. So there is no need for us to tell the meaning. So guess the meaning. Give time limit. Our students survey or after first reading ask questions. Encourage the learner to read at least 3 times. Very important. First reading, one set of questions. Second reading, another set of questions. Third reading, another set of questions. Like that. That is how we read. If you find a difficult passage, you and I also. When I read, say, Fanon, I have to read it 3 times, 4 times. So, cultivate that habit in them. Read thrice the passage. Now go to the next. This is a while reading activity, that post-reading comprehension questions, true or false, multiple choice, one word, one sentence answers, depending upon the level of your students. In most of the comprehension questions, tests, they will have one sentence answer questions in our place. But in IELTS, there is no such question. Similarly, discuss answers after each set of questions, encourage pair work or group work or even entire class discussion or discussing the answers. Now, the question is, I know, so some passage is prescribed for us, and the prescribed passage is difficult for the learners. What do? If you prepare the students like this, from simple, a little bit complicated, simple, a little more difficult, and so on, if you grade it in a graded manner, teach them how to read, finally, they will be able to read the passage given to the students by the textbook. We can't simply overthrow the textbook. Even I tried to do it here, it's impossible. But Albert also tried. No, they don't listen to us. So everywhere it will be the problem. So now, if you do this, then the textbook to student also can be of some use, not immediately, but after some time. Let us now go to uh, other activities that you can have after posting. Next slide, please. So, if it is for higher level, we go to note making. The traditional format is like this. Do you see the screen? Other activities, page at time. You have a bold letter. Then first point, your note making. Under that, the traditional format is suppose you put the capital, say A for note making. Then here you can have small a and small b. Then capital B for dramatization. Then capital C, retelling. Then capital D, drawing diagrams and pictures. So if the students are able to take down notes like this from the reading passage, then they will be able to use it later on. I am not going to teach you note making now, but this is how note making. Now, let us go back to something else. If you had gone through the passage very carefully, you would have noticed that I have given some instruction. Please survey the passage, don't read. Find out what the main idea is. Right? You don't start reading, everybody does that. You also do that. Many experienced professors do that. When you give a passage, they start reading from the first word, first sentence. No, don't do that. Survey. See what it is, what it has, what it tells us about. Sometimes the title tells us. Sometimes if you have a glance at the introduction, if it's a well organized essay, then you will find that the main points are summarized in the first paragraph, or the topic sentences of each paragraph. So look at that. Survey. If it's a story, then find out who are the main characters, who the main characters are. Then, where does it take place? Find out where the events take place. Third one, when do the events take place? Now, do you read the entire passage finding out the answers for this? No, you don't. What you do is, you just skim and scan. For days, places, you scan. It's called scanning technique, scanning strategy. Then, to find out the main ideas, main events, you skim. It's called skimming. You get that? So, use both strategies together, skimming and scanning. And then you have an idea of what it is. Sometimes, some teachers do this. They give the title and ask you to guess. Ask you to guess what the passage contains. Suppose the topic is pollution. Pollution is the topic. Now, the teacher asks the students to guess what it is about. Some students will say kinds of pollution, or types of pollution, causes of pollution. Third one, how to prevent pollution, or effects of pollution, like. So these four main aspects will be there to say. But possibly the essay is about only noise pollution or the pollution that is found in the classroom. Look at that. So even though they have anticipated it, the answer will be only one of them or not any of them, and even then the reading will become easy. It's called anticipatory reading. You anticipate what is there, and then you may not be there, what you expect may not be found in the text, but you understand it better. Just as I don't know when you watch movies. In movies, you go to the first scene or a few scenes, and you say, this is going to be the story. You guess, you make a guess, intelligent guess. Then the story may go according to your guess, or it may go against it. They follow. Even then, you like it. You enjoy the film. You enjoy also that you are trying to guess what it is about. Okay. This kind of anticipatory reading or this reading must be taught. Now, come to the next point. The survey, you put the questions. What is it about? What is the passage about? What does the author tell us about? What is the attitude of the author? Does he support the particular political party? Does it support America? Does it say anything about preventing COVID-19 and so on? So you put questions into to yourself according to the method. If you are a teacher, then you put these questions to the students. So once they finish the survey, before they read, you put these questions, and they will not immediately find the answer. They will start. So when they read through, they will understand what it is about. This is a little bit of careful reading. It is not like a survey. It's not just glimpsing. They go through the entire essay carefully. And depending upon the availability of time, you fix the number of paragraphs, 3 paragraphs here. Right? Then there should be questions. Immediately, it must be followed by questions, multiple choice questions. Better? For the particular 3 paragraphs that you have given. Once again, the patient follows the same procedure. And this is called recalling. They recall through this answering the questions. And the whole term for it is reciting, not memorizing and reproducing, but recalling what is. Then the 4th one is called reviewing. You once again read today, 3 days later, 1 week later, and then this reviewing with the help of the notes that you have made will help you to fix what you have read in your mind permanently. It's not memorizing, it is a cognitive way of remembering things. So this is the method you have to follow while reading. Please go back to slide number 5.
4?
This one. That's 4. 4, please. 4.
This is 4.
So this is what is called the SQ3R technique. The first is survey. You go through the entire passage and try to find out the places, events, time, characters, and so on, if it's a story, or if it is a play, a short story, or you find out the main points. If it is a say subject to the economics, say how the essay is arranged. If it's about politics, now what is the issues that are taken up, and so on. So put survey, just get the main ideas. Usually, in a well-structured essay, the introduction, as I told you, will give you all the main points. Then next will be every paragraph will have a topic sentence. Americans call it topic sentence. Main idea sentence will be there in every paragraph. And you can easily identify. Usually, the main idea will be found in the first sentence. Sometimes the last sentence. Very rarely in the middle. So, as a preliminary step, you can, if you want to teach them long reading text, then your short paragraphs in which the students are asked to identify the topic sentence, main idea sentence. That will be a very good exercise for them. So, this also indirectly helps them to write better. Thus, the main points are identified. Supporting details are identified while reading carefully. And they are also identified. So, main points, supporting details. So, question, read, decide, and review. So, if you read something, you read it for academic purposes. Means you have to remember what you read. If it's subject, then the topic of the subject is remembered for you to reproduce in the examination. And if you follow this method, I think that you will be able to understand that read that. Well, now come to the last point. Last slide, please. Last few slides. Come down. Post-reading activities. That's all. So, 10 slides. Okay. That's all. So,
Yeah, that's it.
So I think touched upon various aspects of teaching reading, and I do not know whether I have been helpful to you in organizing a reading program. My suggestion is that apart from the textbook prescribed for your students, gauge, measure the level of your students and accordingly prepare the passages, and then follow the method that I have advocated, and then slowly take them to a level of their test prescribed. And sometimes even students who are preparing for ALTS may not know all these techniques, strategies. So you can teach even them this technique, but the passage will be difficult. So thank you very much. Now for your questions.
Yes, please come.
You can even type the question screen. Okay.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, sir, for giving us this opportunity to interact with you. For me, reading section is the most difficult section. I've got many questions in that regard, so I'll be specific and I'll ask only 2 questions. The very first one is related to my students. When I teach my students reading and writing, specifically reading, the difficulty that they are come acrossing is, they cannot concentrate. I'm telling them to concentrate on what they read, but they, in response, in turn, they say it's quite difficult to concentrate on things which are, like some of the reading passages got very many difficult words, difficult sentence structure, like long sentence, having many difficult punctuations too, like hyphens connecting the sentence. So for them, it's quite difficult to concentrate on the reading. Sometimes they say, we don't know what we are reading. So things that we read, as we move to the next sentence, we forget those things. This is their major difficulty, their level of concentration. And the response that I tell them something like, please concentrate. This has become something repeated. I've been saying this one over and over, and I hope you can give us some tips to help my students in that regard.
His name?
Hafiz.
This is Hafizullah, sir. Hafizullah.
Your name?
Yeah, my name is
Hafizullah. Right, Hafizullah.
Yes.
Now you can read and understand the passage. Yes, the passage that is prescribed, which is difficult for the students. You can understand.
For me,
you can understand, but
yes.
From 3 or 4 years ago, you might not have understood it. How did you manage to understand it now? I'll tell you. I'll tell you the answer itself.
That's a very good question.
Reading from simpler, more difficult passages. And it took you some 3 or 4 times 4 years for you to master this. But regarding your students, you must do it in a very short while, very short time. And you find out, as I already told you, I anticipated this problem. This is the problem we face also. So once they do not understand, they can't concentrate. They can't focus on what you are teaching, what they are reading. So what you do is start with the simplest passage. Not exactly simplest, simpler passage.
Please charge.
Sorry?
No, nothing.
It's all right. Continue, sir.
You must guess. This is a little bit challenging, but simple for our students. First of all, they must have confidence. No, probably in their lower classes, they read.
Cell battery, please charge.
It's just a problem with the speaker. That's all.
So possibly,
Yeah.
they would have been asked them to refer to dictionaries whenever they found difficult words. Now that's a major problem. And also check whether they read with their lips or whether they read chunks, Vincent groups, whether they are able to read sentences together at one go. That's how you read. That's what an efficient reader reads. So to do it, you must give them training from the beginning. So choose the passage that is a little bit challenging, and then a little bit, which involves cognition, mental activity, like the ones that I have given you, and then ask them to go by it. And I told you vocabulary, they would have been trained like that. And if you refer to dictionary for every word, then you are lost. So discourage them to refer to dictionary while reading. They can do it later on. Next one is, you must have confidence. So even in speaking, confidence is important. If you are not confident, you can't speak. So next one is confidence building exercise. And how do you do it? Give them light, simple passages. They understand. Oh, I understand this. Then they go to the next level, and so on. And you can do this, I tell you, in a very short span of time. If the students are interested in reading, improving their reading, right? So if we encourage them, give them confidence, then they will read. But it will take time. So for the passage that you want them to read now, it will take 1 month of careful and sustained training. First question. Second question. Have I answered your question, Mr. Abdullah?
Partially, sir. Partially, I got my answer. Okay, so why I'm saying this is, sir, our students, I'm teaching in the advanced level. Our students have been studying for almost 3 years.
Yes.
So it's like a long time for them to master the reading skill. Anyways, so I'll keep the tips that you shared in mind when our on-site classes begin. The next question is related to myself. I'm planning to take TOEFL IBT test. Sometimes when I take some practice tests of TOEFL IBT, I find the reading passages over there, I find them much more different from any other kind of readings, reading passages in the textbooks, newsletters, magazines, all this kind of stuff. They are kind of academic. Most of them are academic. And especially, I find them very difficult. Sometimes, you may not believe me, even I don't know the title of that reading passage. So I find it very difficult to understand the rest of that one when I don't know the title. I don't know what I'm reading. Some of them are even that difficult, but not all of them. Of course, for example, from 10 passages, 1 or 2 might be like that. Could you please give me some?
The area of what kind of discipline? I mean, subject. In what area is it? Subject.
Subject.
Philosophy.
I couldn't.
No, is it philosophy or science subject or something like that? What subject do you find difficult?
I generally find this biology, then the other one is geology. However, my field is geology. I find it very difficult. Yes, subjects. They're generally scientific and academic subjects.
Yes.
Those kind of academic subjects which are taught in the English spoken countries, universities. So I find them very difficult. They are very much different from the textbooks that we are teaching over here, from the magazines that we are reading, from every kind of English. I must say that they are different and difficult.
I understand. Now,
if you can give me some tips.
I say, as for the previous question that you raised, that is incomplete, only partial. No, the difficulty is with respect to the level of students you get. We have the same problem. They would have done some 12 years of schooling, 12 years of English learning, and they won't be able to read anything. Sorry, this is the case with many people. And so, the only thing that you should have, as Dr. Albert would have told you, commitment and concern. You can't say, you should have learned this in lower classes. No, don't do that. You can prepare them. I know it can be done. It can be done. It should be done, it can be done. Now, secondly, as for this, the reason for you is that the books that you have read are with reference to particular subjects, and your knowledge of those subjects are not adequate. For instance,
Yes.
I was translating into my mother tongue, Tamil, a book on Stephen Hawking, not by Stephen Hawking, on Stephen Hawking, Life and Works by Kitty Ferguson. For this, I must know cosmology, which I have not studied. To understand that book, I must have read cosmology, some physics, and so what did I do? I went through those subjects, tried to understand the technical words, get the meaning, and then I went to the translation work. Understand? No, I must do the translation. I must understand. That's what I did. So what I suggest is you have the technical words in that particular subject and understand them first. Go to any encyclopedia. Google will give you all the difficult terms explained properly, and then you go to the text. If you don't prepare them and then go to the text, you will be in this deep sea. So prepare like this. And again, this is what I am going to tell you about teaching your students also. When there are technical terms in the lesson, suppose you are a teacher of physics, if they do not know what quantum mechanics says, they can't understand the topic means, you must tell them what it is. So like that, you must also learn the difficult words, technical words, get them fully into your mind, then you read it, you will understand. And even if it is a kind of a way in which it is presented differently, then you can. So that's the only solution that I can offer, because it's always difficult. If you have to read a subject that's different from others, then it will be difficult. But be ready. It's a geology means what kind of words that will be used? Rocks, different types of rock, rare layers, and so on. Go through all of them. Be ready. In other words, what we are expected to do here is to have a broad knowledge of various subjects, including the technical terms. Now, how many of us know about COVID till a few months ago? Now we can say, and virus, community spread, all those things we know. A few days ago, we did not know that. So like that, because of the need, we can. Thank you. I suppose I have tried to answer your question. Very good interaction.
Yes.
Others, please.
Okay, yes, you have very quickly answered my question. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any other participant?
Hello. Yes. Hello and good morning, sir. This is Abdul Basit.
Second name, please. Name,
Basit. Basit.
Basit. Right. Okay, Basit. Go on.
Yes, I have a short question. It is regarding that how reading can help us in better writing.
I am a writer because I am a reader. No, when you read, unconsciously, you absorb the structures that are used by the writer as well as vocabulary. You don't study the vocabulary for itself. When you read a lot, the vocabulary gets into your mind. Then the sentence structure also gets assimilated into your mind. You will not study grammar, because grammar is necessary for monitoring purposes, but the grammatical structures get embedded in your mind. Thirdly, if you are going to be a creative writer, the writing that you read, if it is a literary work, will inspire you to write. No, I told you about the structure of a good lecture or a good reading passage. There will be a beginning, there will be an end, and an introduction will give you the main points, summary will summarize it, and so on. And each paragraph will have a paragraph heading, paragraph topics, as I call it. If you are carefully doing it, identify each of them, then when you transfer this, I suppose you follow me. Now, if you analyze a good reading passage into its terms, then you will find this kind of flow and also cohesion, how one paragraph is linked to the next one. Even within the paragraph there is cohesion. All these things you will notice. And when you write, you will use all these things. But for our younger students, at least they will follow the method. This is how it's done. Right? They follow. So, for instance, if you read Bertrand Russell, you will find that every paragraph will have a topic sentence. Even though the sentence is complicated, the first sentence will tell you, will give you the clue about the next paragraph, and so on. But if you read some other writers, then they will not be like that. May I answer the question?
Yes, thank you, sir. And there's one more question regarding the concentration in reading. So for me, when I am alone in my room, when I read something, I can better understand, comprehend the text. But while in the classroom or other places, I cannot concentrate. So if you can give some more tips regarding that,
yeah.
I'll be.
Yeah. See, the reason for our inability to focus on what we read is, there are many. One is distraction from outside. Somebody will be distracting you. Something else will be distracting you. Some idea, now this evening I have to go to this party, like that. So some kind of distraction will be enough to lose your focus. But another thing is you must, even if you have all these distractions, and even if there are difficulties, you must be able to concentrate. And the concentration, some people do it this way, it's just to mark on the side, right? They mark on the margin or the underline. I don't think that it is of any use. What you do is, first understand what it is, then take down notes. You make notes on what you read, not necessarily the complete passage. Say a particular section or a paragraph. For that, you make notes. Now the formatted main idea, supported. Then you will concentrate. And if you don't understand, you can't write the points. So understanding, when you try to understand something, all the other distractions vanish. So this is the only way that I have found personally to be of use. And take interest in what you do. Even if it is a dull subject, try to take interest. Just as we teachers do it, even if we find a particular lesson uninteresting, we try to make it interesting by our own way of doing it. Okay?
So thank you, sir. Thank you.
More questions?
Hello, sir. It's Mahdia. I am happy, and also thank you so much for your nice description based on the reading skill. So I have a question. As you say that as a teacher, before entering to the class, we have to prepare some list of the questions regarding the reading or the passage. Now, as you know, the students which you're teaching, they're not, the English language is not their first language. So we have different or variety levels of understanding from the students. Now, how can we prepare or how can we consider them the same level?
This is what I am giving very short video lectures on teaching teaching mother tongue, teaching our Tamil language, mother tongue. A very brief videos, and in a particular video I had given all these tips to the teachers. one asked, sir, the class has 40 students. I don't know the number of students that you have. How many students do you have usually? Our classes have, pardon me? Pardon me? How many?
35.
How many students do you have? 35. So almost like 40, 45, like that. So all the 45 students will have different ability. What do I do? But at least we can group them into three. Number one, high achievers. They read fast, quickly. Before you ask them to read it, they will read and read the answers, and then they will cast music. There will be results. Then the average people. Then those who will be struggling, they will not be able to read at all. Now, what do? You have to ignore either ignore the students, the bright students who give the answers immediately, or you must give them alternative work. Ask them to read something else. They finished it. All right, read this. You must have passages ready, advanced. Give it to them. The middlers, they will manage themselves. Then come to the last group. Say in the third class of 35, at least 10 will be like that. Am I right? 10 will be like that. And for these 10 students, you have a separate program. Now you have chosen, say, sorry, I have 5 levels of reading passages. So I have ready-made the passages, 5 levels of reading passages. Now I'm not teaching textbook, I'm teaching reading skill, remember that. So I have 5 levels, I give them the second level, and they find it difficult. So what do? I go to the first level. And in my classes, sometimes, now I don't teach, but when I give them sessions like this to school young children, some children will not be able to read a sentence at all. They're not able to read even a word. So what do? Either you have to throw them out, or you have to help them. Which is better? Help them? Concern?
Yes.
So what I do is, I take them to the lowest level. Even lower than what I have been teaching them. You know, a word has its meaning, and the meaning is seen in an object or in a picture. For instance, a book. The word is there in English, and the book is there, and the students must be able to connect this word B-O-O-K, with what? With the book itself, the object itself. So give them training in that. Have 5 such words, short words, and then objects. Ask them to match. They can do it. They can run it in very short well. They can have a game. Then next level, you have what is called, you have treasure hunt. You have treasure hunt like that. Treasure hunt, you know. You get a game. No. You give instructions. I'll tell you. You give cue cards like that, and then you kind something in a particular place. The person who has to find it out must go to different places, take the cards, and then go to the next like that, and then finally reach the treasure. Right? Here also you do that. First one, book. In a book, the cue will be found. So the word book will be find the cue in the book. And then there it will be given on the table. You read and go and take the card. Next card, like that goes on. And finally, it's behind the chalkboard. So it will be behind the chalkboard or under the chair. He will take it. Now here, the learner learns to read groups of words or word and find the meaning by himself or herself, and then match it to the object. Slowly this can be, and the next one with longer sentences. The boy is riding a bicycle. The boy is riding a camel. Right? So you have a picture. The boy is riding a camel. A sentence, and then they match it. It can be done in groups. 4 or 5 sentences together. Each group is matching, and then finally they are collecting together, and so on. You can do it number of ways. So history can be taught like that. historical events in Afghanistan can be given in cards, and each one will read it, and then he will stand in an order according to chronological order line. So this can be the next step, and all these things will take a very short period. Remember that, because they are not learners. Then next step, then you can give longer sentences, short passages, and so on, and they prepare them to read. But all this needs lots of preparation, patience, and commitment. I suppose your name forgot. Sorry, Shakira.
Mahdia.
Mahdia. I'm sure that you are committed, you are concerned, I can do it. Right?
Okay, thank you.
Question? Yeah. Okay.
Good morning to you, sir, and thank you so much. This is Paulito.
Happy to see you.
Yeah.
So
we are extremely happy to. Yes. I mask myself to save. So thank you so much. This was quite interesting. I'm really happy about your session.
Thank you.
Some felt this, your experience and expertise really came out when they asked the questions, because it can read through your experience, and it was quite enterprising to notice that. And I also felt that the question which the coordinator of our program over here, Mr. Hafiz, he asked the question, and one thing which I felt was, if we don't have the right student at the right level, we will really struggle. Somehow what we do is we compromise with some students, saying that it's okay that you may be promoted. So but what happens is, this very struggle will have to be encountered at that point of time. So this is what I also felt. So in fact, this was an insight which came to me when you were explaining out of your experience. So we are deeply grateful to you, and we look forward.
Yes. One second, Father. I had been struggling for years together, more than 30-40 years, in the same situation. The college that I worked, we had only students from rural areas, and they had no proper education at all. But they came to the college without knowing anything, and we struggled to impart them some skills. I devised various schemes and programs for them, and finally I could make them answer a few questions in English, but they would improve their listening skill, reading skill, but writing practically nothing. So this has been my experience, and see how we were happy when we were able to make them speak something. The rural boys who had no idea about English, they were able to speak. We were very happy. So the struggle itself is the reward. Thank you, Father. Go ahead. Sorry.
We are extremely grateful for this session with you. We look forward for the forthcoming sessions that we may have with you. In fact, during this particular session we had in our class, 7 of us were here, and Sabira was online. Yasmin and Arzu joined in the beginning, but I think they had some signal connectivity issues, and they might have just disappeared. Yes. So we hope for some more sessions with you. So we are extremely grateful to you. In fact, I just wanted to give you a short overview about our programs over here. We have got basically 4 programs here: the English programs, computer classes, then concours classes we call it. It's training sessions or the coaching sessions for university exams. Then we have the online programs. Online programs are exclusively dealt by Brother Ronald. Then other programs, we have our coordinators to run this. The English programs are basically divided into 2, the lower level and the higher level. The lower level is once again categorized into basic, higher basic, pre-foundation, foundation. So it will come around little more than a year. Each session will last for more than 3 months. So that's how it is designed. After that, we proceed with the level A, A1, A2, B1, B2, and C1. So the B2 and C1 levels are for almost 6 months. Rest of the sessions last for 4 months. So it's a program for almost 2 years. So by 3.5 years, a student gets a kind of competence to pick up the language and use those skills. That's how we have designed the program. In fact, these sessions were extremely motivating. In fact, the experience of yours matters a lot, because the struggles that they had expressed are their own personal difficulties for many of them. In fact, all of them rather. So we are extremely grateful to you for this session. We look forward for more sessions from you. Probably we are deeply sorry that in the beginning we had some technical issues and we had
No
to delay.
problem at all.
So we are extremely grateful to you for understanding and accommodating us. And I'm extremely grateful to Brother Ronald. He also was trying to fix it. And he was struggling a lot. Yes. So is it okay that we close it and maybe we will contact you once again? You are already in our group, the WhatsApp group by name JRS Advanced English Educator. That's the title of so if you have some more tips to be added to that one, feel free to add to that one. Okay. So once again, on behalf of JRS and all my colleagues, I extend a heartfelt gratitude to you. It was quite insightful. In fact, I thought that you may close it by 10 o'clock, but you were trying to compensate that one by extending your time. Thank you so much for your precious time. So
thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I must congratulate all the participants. Come on. I'm ready.
Yeah. So they all have a big thank you for you. That's all.
Oh, thank you.
So we will close it for time.
I really enjoyed interacting. I really enjoyed interacting with the participants and also your words.
Thank you.
Very encouraging at the age. I enjoyed it. Well, no other word for it. I enjoyed it. And what you do is, what the participants do is, they write down what their problems, queries, and they post them in WhatsApp. Or for next session, what you want me to do, you can express.
Okay.
I purposely omitted one thing, that is reading for literary appreciation. That if they want, I can give it later on. Thank you very much.
Probably you can share that one. I can request our teachers, our colleagues to go through that one seriously. We'll serious, then we'll do it. So thank you.
Thank you. Brother Ronald, thank you.
Yeah.